The storm outside matched the storm inside his heart. Ethan Blake, a powerful CEO who had built an empire with his own hands, sat in his glass-walled office staring at a photograph of his little girl, Sophie. His fortune could buy her anything: designer dresses, private schools, lavish toys, but it couldn't buy her happiness. Since losing his wife years ago, Ethan had watched Sophie retreat into a quiet sadness, her laughter fading into silence. He promised himself he would do anything to bring it back. Music was the only thing she seemed to respond to, her tiny hands always reaching for the piano keys. So, he searched for the best music tutor money could buy. But fate had other plans. Right finger if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of love. Please like this video, share it with someone you care about, and don't forget to subscribe to Hidden Hearts for more emotional stories like this. When the knock came on the Blake mansion door, Ethan expected a polished professional, the kind he was used to hiring, someone with glowing recommendations and a resume longer than most novels. Instead, he found a woman standing nervously on the doorstep, holding a folder that seemed far too thin. Her name was Grace. She was younger than he expected, her blouse slightly faded, her shoes worn but clean. She apologized for being late, cheeks flushed, explaining softly that she'd taken the bus and it broke down halfway. Ethan almost turned her away, but then he saw Sophie peeking out from behind him, her eyes wide and curious, fixed not on him, but on Grace. The first lesson was unlike anything Ethan imagined. Grace didn't just teach Sophie notes or scales. She sat beside her, gently guiding her small fingers, laughing softly when Sophie missed a key, encouraging her when she tried again. Her warmth filled the room in a way Ethan hadn't seen in years. Slowly, Sophie began to smile, her voice bubbling out in shy giggles that Ethan thought he'd lost forever. From that moment, Ethan knew Grace was different, though he didn't yet understand why. As the weeks passed, Grace became a fixture in their lives. Every Wednesday afternoon, Sophie would race to the front door, waiting eagerly. Ethan, usually consumed with meetings and contracts, found himself lingering nearby during lessons, drawn by the sound of laughter and music drifting through the house. But he noticed small things, too: the way Grace's hands trembled slightly when she held the sheet music, the tired look in her eyes when she thought no one was watching, the fact that she always declined when he offered to have his driver take her home. One rainy evening, when Sophie fell asleep on the couch after a long practice, Ethan found Grace sitting quietly at the piano, her fingers moving over the keys in a melody so tender it seemed to breathe life into the room. He asked her softly where she had learned to play like that. Grace hesitated, then told him the truth. She hadn't come from a wealthy background or a famous conservatory. She was a single mom, raising her little boy, Daniel, on her own. Her husband had walked away, leaving her with nothing but debts and a child to care for. She had dreamed of teaching music full-time, but survival had pushed those dreams aside. When she saw Ethan's job posting, she applied, thinking she might never even hear back. She hadn't realized he was looking for someone else entirely. The mix-up had been a blessing she dared not question. Ethan was silent for a long moment, humbled. He had built a fortune but knew little of real struggle. Grace had so little, yet gave Sophie more joy than all the expensive tutors before her. Slowly, admiration grew into something deeper. He began to notice how his heart quickened when Grace smiled, how much lighter the house felt when she was there. But the real turning point came when Ethan finally met Daniel. One afternoon, Sophie begged to visit Grace's home. Ethan agreed, curious, and found himself in a small but cozy apartment filled with secondhand furniture and laughter. Daniel, just 6 years old, ran to the door, clutching a toy car. His shoes were scuffed, his jeans patched, but his eyes sparkled with the same light Ethan saw returning in Sophie's. The two children bonded instantly, filling the little home with laughter. Ethan stood there, overwhelmed, realizing that this tiny world, humble yet full of love, was everything his mansion lacked. Days turned into months, and the bond between them all deepened. Grace taught Sophie more than music. She taught her resilience, kindness, and how to find joy even in mistakes. Ethan, once hardened by business and loss, found himself softening. He began to leave the office early, craving dinners filled with conversation instead of silence. Grace's presence turned his house from a museum into a home. Still, Ethan wrestled with fear. Could a man like him, with his wealth and responsibilities, really fit into Grace's simple world? Could she trust him, after the heartbreak she had endured? The answer came one evening during Sophie's recital. She sat nervously at the piano, the spotlight on her small frame, and Ethan saw the tremble in her hands. Grace knelt beside her, whispering encouragement, then stepped back. Sophie began to play. The melody was sweet, hesitant at first, then growing stronger, her confidence blooming with every note. The crowd erupted into applause, but it wasn't the music that brought tears to Ethan's eyes, it was the way Sophie looked at Grace, as if she had found not just a teacher, but family. After the recital, Ethan finally spoke the words he had been holding back. He thanked Grace, not just for teaching his daughter, but for bringing light back into their lives. And in return, Grace admitted something she had tried to hide: she had grown to care for both Ethan and Sophie more than she had expected. They stood there, two broken souls who had found healing in each other, watching their children laugh together. Right finger if this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Hidden Hearts for more inspiring true-to-life stories. From that day forward, their lives intertwined. Ethan supported Grace and Daniel, not with charity, but with respect and love. Grace gave Ethan and Sophie the gift of a family again. And together, they discovered that sometimes the greatest blessings come from life's most unexpected mistakes. Sparkle's special request. Comment below, do you believe that life's accidents can sometimes lead us to our true destiny?